Welcome to the second hour of the show with no name for June the 7th, 2013. It's a Friday, we think.
Still
and I'm Bob Going with Jim Nikosha and Gavin Murdoch. That's not going to work. I didn't leave enough time in between. It is the magic of home video. We're a little brighter today. I added my one remaining incandescent bulb that I have in the house. Unfortunately, I took it from my little office upstairs, and I was just up there in the dark trying to see if anything happened to the news I should know about between shows. Anyway. Let's do a plug for my book. Where Do We Find Such Men? Story of Amsterdam and World War II. You guys liked it, right?
I loved it. I started
again with the book copy,
and I had to put it down.
Hey, I just opened at random to that picture of Art Carter. That was the AP photo of him. Arthur Carter, former mayor of the city of Amsterdam. Actually, he was still the mayor at the time this picture was taken, I think. And they give him a little piece of occupied Italy to become military governor of, where they all love Americans and where nothing ever happens, where it's a whole lot easier than dealing with the Common Council because you're essentially a dictator and can do whatever you want and have like unlimited supplies at your command and things like that. So he's got a nice quiet little job there, doing his part for the war, and his sector includes Mount Vesuvius, which has the biggest eruption in 200 years while he is there, and he has to rescue all these villagers from the lava flow that's coming down. He's got Pompeii and Herculaneum in his area. There were we had an airfield at Pompeii. It was called the Pompeii Airfield, and there were 88 planes destroyed by that eruption. More than the Germans. There were more planes destroyed by the mountain than there were by the Germans. Interesting, eh?
Too bad he isn't around here today to take care of the explosion that's happening in the city.
That's right. Well, he tried. He tried making a comeback 20 years later. In 1963, and he had made some political enemies in the 10 years he was mayor, so would have been quite the comeback. He was mayor from 33 to 43, and he would have been, I guess he wasn't mayor when that picture was taken. His term had ended by that time. I correct myself.
Oh, I thought
I also spelled Hank Greenberg's name wrong once in the book, according to my brother, and he's right. So next edition will be corrected, but I just printed 50 more copies.
You printed Hank wrong?
Yeah, I spelled Hank wrong. Actually, I spelled Greenberg two different ways, and I think I was just misreading my own notes because my handwriting isn't the greatest, as Sister Florence Lewis. We had that class together, right? You were in that class with me?
We were.
Sister, you were in 4th grade, I was 5th. Straight F's I got in handwriting from her. Straight F's. F's!
But you know why?
You didn't have the book where
we leaked it all out. Because we were always in such a hurry to get done because we had so much to do, we couldn't concentrate on our penmanship to get the correct answers down.
You think that's what it is? It's your story and you're sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it, absolutely.
Wow.
My mom.
We're getting off topic here for a minute, although we don't have a topic at the moment. But I would, bring the report card home, and everything else is great. I got A's in this and B pluses, whatever. No, I think it's mostly A's and A pluses. F's in handwriting, and my father's yelling at me. Oh, this is terrible. What's the matter with you? F's in handwriting. Now, I was a reasonably bright kid, okay? And I was familiar with my father's handwriting because I had helped him out with his office work quite a bit. I'd do the filing for him and things like that, for a while he was after his surgery, he operated out of the house, and we were all chipping in doing what we could do. My mother did the typing, and I did the filing and alphabetizing and all that stuff. And So I was familiar with my father's handwriting. So I said, Dad, when you were in 4th grade, what kind of marks did you get in handwriting? I got A's, he said. Now, if I were a good kid, I would have accepted that and said, I'm sorry, Dad, I'll try to do better next time.
However,
So instead of trying to improve my handwriting and getting a higher grade, I chose instead to go right over to my grandmother's house and said, do you have any of Dad's old report cards? And of course she had them all.
and
Oh, D's and F's.
so you came by it honestly. It was a gene pool.
That's right. I said, I'm sorry, Dad, I inherited it.
See,
I still have lousy handwriting.
I did not have that luxury because I did have samples of my grandfather's handwriting, which was impeccable,
Really?
and my father's, who was twice as impeccable,
Really?
and mine is not legible. I
Yeah.
didn't have, but he did. I mean,
Oh, so you got it from the Stark side.
I don't know what side he got it from. Well, my mom had decent handwriting, but I've got.
My mother's was beautiful. My mother's handwriting was absolutely poetic.
My handwriting was terrific. My spelling wasn't good, but and it still isn't. It
So you
still
can
isn't.
tell you didn't spell well.
It still
'cause
isn't
it's
good.
so
But it
legible.
looked great, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because we had the Palmer.
Yeah,
The Palmer
I've
book.
got my dad's home, his Palmer, and he's got the circle. I mean,
You got to make the circles.
perfect. Oh,
And of course, they were using fountain pens.
yeah.
They were learning with
Well-
fountain pens.
Do you remember when you got your first
In the
fountain pen?
inkwell.
I didn't get a fountain pen till I was in college, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We did not, although, I came to St. Mary's in 4th grade, and that was like on the fringe. And there was a debate going on among the nuns whether using a ballpoint was actually ink or not. It was
Because that was
acceptable.
new.
Because it was new. Ballpoints were new,
Yeah.
relatively, in 1960, 61. And they wouldn't refer to it as a pen. It was a ballpoint.
Yeah.
I think I had cartridge pens, which were quite good. Those came in. Those were kind of the combination. You never got the ink all over your hands. You didn't have to use. You didn't have the little rubber bladder to suck the ink into. It all came out of the cartridge, and as you were, so that was kind of a hybrid.
Yeah,
It looked like a fountain.
Right, I think Script made those pens.
Yeah. So those looked like a fountain pen and wrote like a fountain pen, but they weren't messy like a fountain pen. But we still had the desks with the ink wells in them, you used to use blotters, and I don't know. Did you ever use the powdered stuff that they used in the old days? But I think the only I guess a fountain pen by definition was the one with the bladder, right? Otherwise, you're just using a pen, which is dip it in, shake it off, right? Dip it in.
Yeah. But it's amazing when you look at the old writing of the 18th century. I mean, how beautiful it was.
Wow,
and they were using a quill.
You want to see some? You wonder how they did it stuff. Go up to the county clerk's office. In the old days, the deed books were hand copied in quill. Yeah, you would bring your deed up to be. They didn't have photocopies.
Yeah.
So you'd bring your deed up to be filed, and they would copy word for word everything that's in the deed into the permanent book.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa! Now, can you imagine how many people you needed to employ to do that? Let alone how long it would take, and you had to have beautiful handwriting to do that, because this is the permanent record.
Yeah.
If you want to convey title, you want a deed that says what it's supposed to say.
Wow.
Oh. Now they just digitalize everything. It's amazing how they did things in the old days. Had to.
By hand.
By hand.
By hand.
By
Or
hand.
carbon paper.
Anyway. All right, let's get on a topic.
Okay.
The news of yesterday and today was the NSA looking at every single phone call made in the United States. And they said, well, we're just looking at the metadata. And, this is old news. We've been doing, it's not old news to me.
No, to me.
every they have access to every single record of every telephone call made, who it's from, who's it's to, how long it was, where it was made from, if they have that cell phone information. If it's made from a cell phone, they have access to what cell tower it was bounced off of and all that. So, as somebody said, the government knows more about me than my wife does. But seriously, they have access to all that information. If you're calling your girlfriend on your telephone, all of a sudden somebody in the government knows about it.
Yeah.
I feel good about them having secrets.
And we don't have to worry about that, because the government that has no oversight is just going to use that really. They're only going to use that information. Yeah. No, there isn't any political person in the NSA. I don't believe that for a second. And after all the stuff with the IRS, where they have the political people in there going after certain groups it's funny. As soon as a group attacks the IRS, all of a sudden they're audited.
Yeah.
How is it that Holder can get up there and talk
and lie?
Well, yeah, and just not think anything is even being remotely done that's amiss.
Well, now that we know,
how come he's still got that job?
Well, now that we know that the NSA has access to all the phone records, Holder bugging the reporter seems like small change, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay, so there was a lot of debate yesterday about whether this is appropriate or it isn't, or whether it's necessary or it isn't. There was some good stuff by. Giving the other side, Andrew McCarthy at National Review Online did a couple of good pieces on it yesterday, what the Supreme Court rulings is on telephone data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so this was all looking like, okay, by the end of the day, well, maybe it's not as horrendous as it first appeared. Then at the end of the day, we find out about Operation Prism.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, this is a beaut. This is a beaut because it made you forget all about the telephone data. Apparently, the government has direct access to all the major internet providers. We're talking Facebook and YouTube and Google and Yahoo and all this stuff, right? Skype. They have direct access. They're not getting any warrants. They can intercept any email that you write as you're writing it. Okay, without any oversight by any court. Now, we're only using this information to track terrorists. Oh yeah. Then when I see like Nancy Pelosi bragging about what great information the Obama campaign has, that they can identify every single American, what they like and what they don't like, where they go and where they don't go, and so they can get out the vote. We know exactly who are.
Guess what?
Yeah, I wonder where that information is coming from. Now, all these internet companies are denying that they ever gave approval to do this. Okay. And of course, they necessarily would, because how long are they going to survive if everybody knows that the information?
It's an open book.
All right. Okay. You say, well, you should know that when you send email that it's out there somewhere and somebody can intercept it. You should be careful anyway, right? Hidden in the list of things they're doing. What is it, VoIP, I think, Voice Internet Protocol, or whatever it is. It's a system you use, for example, Skype, where your voice, your picture goes out over the internet, it's received somewhere else. My kids are on their iPads all the time talking to each other, all that stuff. It's also the system used by, for example, Time Warner Cable for your home telephone. Okay? Every phone call that I make from this house via Time Warner Cable is now accessible directly by somebody in the federal government. They can listen in on my phone call without getting any warrant, going to see any judge, etc. Now, I don't like that. Because you know what? I say things on the phone like, Obama sucks.
And you want to get audited.
Now, this is absolutely outrageous. Well, they say yes, but this has prevented several terrorist events. Okay, may be true, may not be true.
We don't know.
So does martial law. Okay. So does a total denial of your human rights makes it, yes, the more of our rights are denied, the more crime is going to be stopped. But guess what? It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it.
It's an awful.
It's absolutely, it's a wide open,
It's
answerable to no one power. And I think it's just crazy.
And they don't see one iota of this being wrong in any way whatsoever.
Right. Now, I make a phone call using a Verizon landline. You need a court order to intercept that phone call. Mm-hmm. Okay. If I make it using the internet, they're just listening.
they're just listening.
Or if you use your cell phone.
And if you use a cell phone, who knows what they're doing? Who knows? The cell phone's going over some of these lines too. I'm sure the cell phone somewhere along the line uses this VoIP protocol, right? Outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous, especially in the hands of radical revolutionaries like the ones that Obama has placed in every department. It is really scary.
And they promoted Rice to.
Yeah.
Look what they put in Rice's spot.
Yeah. Right.
Unbelievable.
So I'm sorry. I'm a big law and order guy. I'm a big national security guy, but I don't like any of this. I don't like any of this at all. And I find myself in bed with some people that I'm not ordinarily in bed with, and the government will know about it.
And the fact that they went shopping around for judges, and how many judges they had to go through to get what wiretaps.
Yeah. They get denied, and then they just go find another judge, and that's absolutely wrong.
It's
So what I was outraged about last week is just seems like nothing this week.
There was an article, I think it was in the Post, saying this has all been carefully orchestrated, and they're going to just get all the crap out at one time. People can get OD'd on it, and it's going to be forgotten because there's just so much to focus on that you don't focus on anything, and it just goes by the wayside.
Well, I don't know if I'm buying that. I think.
Or is it just going to keep digging?
I think it's just going to keep dripping out, and I mean the stuff coming out of the IRS is. The two women testified yesterday. Was it two women or a woman and a man? I forget. But, the people from Cincinnati.
Said, the guys up above.
Yeah. They said, what are you talking about? We didn't have a right to make a decision. All those decisions were made by, and then names the lawyer in Washington, who is the politically appointed lawyer, who is telling them what to ask these not-for-profits, what questions to ask. And some of the stuff is so outrageous, you just, tell us the content of your prayer meetings.
And
what?
And what comes out of Obama is, well, these things have been wrong. We won't let it happen again.
Can you believe a word he says? Everything he says is the opposite of what he does.
Yeah.
The fact.
And it's all done by his political appointees.
And nobody's getting hung out on this stuff.
No.
People are taking, it was my fault. I'm sorry, and that's it. There's no repercussions. He's got people falling on their side.
I can't imagine how long Holder can hold out.
He should have gone on there Fast and Furious.
Right, absolutely. But
it's just gotten worse.
But we know now what Fast and Furious was about. They were deliberately sending those guns to Mexico so that they could then politically say, we have to crack down on guns. Look at all the American guns are ending up in Mexico. And that's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. And they're still trying to do.
And they're still trying to do. He goes down to Mexico and apologizes for all the terrible laws we have that allow our guns to go to Mexico. He's the one who sent them there.
How immoral is that, Bob? How immoral is
It's
that?
Thoroughly immoral. That's on top of everything else. It's thoroughly immoral. You're right. But I think the guy is amoral. really believe that. He shows no.
There's no emotion.
There's no emotion.
Whether he's comforting somebody who lost a husband in Afghanistan,
or
he's talking to a first grader, it's the same
level,
tone,
right?
And that arrogant tone that he possesses whenever he speaks.
By the way, the movie was Iceman.
It was Iceman. That was confirmed by.
That was confirmed by the missus upstairs.
Okay. All right.
That was from the last hour that the movie Jamie worked on, and I bring that up now because in my former profession, when I was family court judge, I used to see not a lot of this, but enough of it to get a feel for people who had exhibited no emotion whatsoever. I mean, I'd have people in the courtroom accused of the most heinous forms of child abuse, and they'd just be sitting there like they were waiting for their lunch to arrive, listening to the testimony and not reacting to it in any way, not in outrage, not in fear, not in anything. And I saw kids who were abused. I remember one thing vividly. I had a clinical social worker investigate the child, interrogate's not the right word, but evaluate the child, interview and evaluate the child. And he told me how this girl, she was like 5 years old, while she was in his office, was kind of wandering around, and he had this folding closet door, he had louvered doors, and the girl got her finger pinched in the door, okay, to the point where it left a big black and blue mark and was all swollen up. He said the child never cried, never exhibited any form of pain whatsoever. And it just chilled him to the bone, he says, because that indicates that she's lived her whole life knowing that complaining about pain is not going to get you anywhere, it's only going to make things worse.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I see this administration loaded with people who have suffered like that and have become abusers themselves. Maybe not in quite the same manner, but they've led pretty screwed up lives. The president certainly has had one of the most screwed up lives of anybody who's ever been elected president. Bill Clinton's was pretty crazy too. Anyway, wasn't that happy thought?
Yeah.
On the internet the other day, they were going about Obamacare, and there's a provision in there where they have access to your bank accounts.
Look at what they've got.
They got running it.
I mean,
they start coordinating all this information. Do I want somebody in the federal government to know every aspect of my personal health?
It's like that survey I got to fill out.
And they're already doing this. They're already coordinating, setting up these protocols and computer programs so that the federal government has control over every aspect of
your life. They're trying to control. And they're doing it. They're doing it.
They're putting in a new software system down at St. Mary's Hospital covering all aspects. And I only had to show my insurance card about 30 times so far.
Yeah.
I said, wait a minute, don't you guys all work with each other? Don't we have like one file on me? And the other day I'm in for going over some stuff with my doctor, and he didn't have the records from my breath test. And not the kind when you're DWI. This is the kind where they check how good your lung capacity is.
Okay.
And finally gets it, and I laughed at it. I said, I was in there a month ago. You work for St. Mary's Hospital. It was done at St. Mary's Hospital. Why isn't this just push a button and you got it. He says, welcome to Obamacare. and did you see the thing Rand Paul did? That little riff he did about the different, because he's a doctor, and he's talking about all the different categories they now have. There are several related to being injured by a turtle. Are you bit by a turtle? Do you trip over a turtle? And these are actual boxes doctors have to check. And it was like one absurd thing after another. And he's going over and where there used to be like 200, there's now 200,000 categories.
He's working on employing people to take care of this stuff in the government. Somebody's got to record it and take care of it.
And like the bridge to nowhere, somebody's finally got to say, this is nuts. This is all nuts. And it looks like there are going to be fewer people insured when this is implemented than there were before. That was the whole argument they made. We want to make everybody insured. Well, no.
And the people that have insurance are going to be paying through the nose.
Through the nose, twice as much in California. Twice as much.
Twice as much.
But we're not going to increase taxes.
Yeah.
We got a hell of a lot of fees.
Everybody's situation is different. Economically, medically, and everything else, right? And what makes sense to some people might not make sense to somebody else. If you're somebody who's sick all the time, you're probably going to want a low deductible plan, right? That's going to cost you a little more, but it's got better coverage. But if you come from a family of healthy people and you're modestly well off, you're not going to mind paying a $100 deductible if your yearly premium goes down substantially. It makes more sense for you. You like every economic decision, you weigh the benefits against the risks.
Whoa.
And my benefits and my risks may be completely different from yours, and probably are. But this one-size-fits-all just makes it awful for everybody, because the prices got to go sky high, because they're making insurance companies cover insurance companies shouldn't have to cover anything they don't want to cover. Frankly, they should say, "Here's what I'm offering."
And they're not going to.
And if you don't like it, go to the company next door.
They're not going to sign up for insurance.
Oh man!
That's it. They'll pay the fine.
Right. The fine is the fine is cheaper, and then if you got because they've got this precondition waiver in there, you just wait till you are sick, then you sign up, and then they have to insure you.
Yeah.
So it's nuts. There'll be fewer and fewer people doing it, and it's going to cost more and more and more. The people who are paying are going to be paying astronomically. And it's all foreseeable.
And you walk in any doctor's office now, and you can see the number of clerical staff they have. Mm-hmm. She wasn't here the last time. I said, well, we got to put this. It's ridiculous. What the number of people a doctor has to employ.
Right.
Just to keep the records.
Just to keep records and submit these records and try to take care of the patients at the same time.
And it makes you understand that doctor in Maine who said, from now on, I'm not taking any more insurance. You want me, you pay for me, and that's it. Yeah, and his overhead just went down dramatically.
Yeah, I'll charge you a third of the price, but you got to pay in cash.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Carl Strock had the right idea in the Gazette. You want to control the costs of health care, get rid of insurance. Well, now, then of course, the lawyers are responsible, and the courts, because they've made it almost impossible for doctors to do business. They hold doctors responsible for everything that happens bad to anybody, and the only way you can get around this is by ordering hundreds of tests that ordinarily that don't make sense economically to do on average, and so we have all these tests being done at a huge cost that ultimately prove of little or no benefit, but they're designed to keep doctors from being sued.
Exactly, because that's
or to survive a lawsuit.
You watch TV. There was one yesterday, the day before, and it just about said if you've ever been sick and your doctor hasn't cured it, you may be entitled to compensation.
Right.
That's what they're ever.
Yeah.
It calls 1-800 ambulance driver.
And then you've got Chaser.
Chaser.
It's Chaser.
Yeah. Sorry.
And then you've got we have, I forget, the way the common law works is courts just kind of make up courts of action as they go along. I mean, they develop over a period of time. But, legislatures can stop these things. For example, in New Jersey and several other states, the courts have had cases where children have been born with defects. I put that in quotes because I don't believe any child has defects. They're just disabilities, whatever. Challenges, whatever. People have successfully sued their doctor for not advising them to have abortions because they would produce a defective child. It's called the wrongful life, and not wrongful death anymore. It's wrongful life. And they have collected the cost of taking care of the children for 21 years. And where does that, first of all, where does that leave a doctor with a conscience in New Jersey? And I guess there's still a few. But the whole concept is outrageous. That you're entitled to a healthy, perfect child, or else you sue the doctor. Oh, come on. The doctor had nothing to do with the child having defects, whether they're genetic or otherwise. But to use you didn't tell me to kill the child as the basis for a lawsuit. I mean, you talk about morality. I mean, that is just so barbarous that I can't believe it. And yet, that's the law in any number of states, probably including this one. I haven't checked lately. Outrageous, absolutely outrageous. They're, moral monsters. As is our state senator, by the way, who I...
Oh, which one is that?
I don't know. Can you pronounce her name? Tachik?
Tachik.
Was it Christine? She hasn't been there long enough for me to know her personally, but she's all on board with Cuomo's barbarous abortion law, which they don't call that. They call it the Women's Health Expansion Law or some crazy pseudonym like that. And it's allowing for late-term abortions in New York up to the moment of birth, and we're only a step away from the post-birth abortions, which some bioethicists say are perfectly fine. I'm sure those people in New Jersey would say, well, you should have killed this child. We're entitled to compensation because you didn't kill the child. It's just horrible stuff. It's monstrous stuff. She's all for it. She thinks it's wonderful. You know what? Not in a million years would I vote for that woman. I don't care who she's running against.
Well, I voted for her, but
now you can be sorry.
I'm sorry I did.
You had a different reason. Now you got another one.
Well, she didn't support this the way she supported.
Well, no, that's right. It wasn't out there.
She waited until after the election.
Yeah. Well.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, that's where we are. How much time we got here?
You got about 20 minutes.
All right.
15, 20 minutes.
All right. Well, I've destroyed the state of New York and the United States government.
We did the city already.
We've destroyed the city.
The county's still intact.
Did you see Big Papi last night? He's having the time of his life. He's 37 years old, and this may be the best season he's ever had. I don't know if you saw his triple the other night. It's his first triple in a couple of years, but when he gets moving,
Well, he's lost a little weight. From
He's
last
lost a
year.
lot of weight.
And he seems to be having fun, which all the guys on the team seem to be having.
Who's this you're talking about?
David Ortiz of the Red Sox.
Okay.
Well, last night the score is tied 3-3 in the bottom of the ninth. Guys on second and third. Pedroia at the plate. 2 outs. And you're just they got a left-hander on the mound. You're just asking for it. So Pedroia's a right-hander, and some genius in the Texas dugout says, walk Pedroia to get to the left-handed Ortiz. Now, this is just like slapping Ortiz in the face, and the way he's been hitting lately, it's almost as though he hits at will anyway. Yeah. But when you get up there and say, we're disrespecting you by walking Pedroia to get to you, boom. I don't know if it was the first pitch, but it landed in the right field grandstands, and so they win 6-3. But he looks like a little kid out there. He's just got this big smile ear to ear, and
he's having a lot of fun with the new manager. Guys all seem to be, they're playing well together.
Yeah.
They got rid of some of the dirty dogs.
They did. The troublemakers are all gone, and nobody misses them. Ellsbury came back last night. He went 4 for 5. In fact, he's the one who tied the game up. Meanwhile, down in Pawtucket, Victorino and Middlebrooks were rehabbing and each hit a home run. I mean, they've got this great bench. I mean, these guys can come up from Pawtucket, fill the positions, and go back down. And Bradley had his first home run the other night. He's a guy who went crazy in spring training. He'd never played above AA, and then bats like 500 in spring training, so they bring him up with a big team. Well, then he settled down, but still he's contributed since he came back up again while Victorino was out.
Yankees got beat last night, so they're up 2 games now, I think.
No, that gets it back to 3, I think, because they had
2.5, 3.
I think it's back to 3. Yeah. Because the Yankees had gained a game on them the night before, so I think we're back to 3.
I haven't seen anything in the paper. What's Wells doing? What's Casper doing?
He got a hit the other night. They played a 15 or 16 inning game. He got a hit. He drove in a run and scored a run.
Who's he with now?
Chicago White Sox.
Chicago.
Yeah, they played. The game was tied 0-0 for 12 or 13 innings.
Wow.
And both teams got 5 runs in that same inning someplace.
No.
And then they played a couple more innings, and the White Sox ended up winning. But yeah, they went double-digit innings without ever scoring, and both teams got 5. Then he had to play a couple more innings, and
that must have been one hell of a game.
Yeah. Well, it was the same night somebody pitched a one-hitter. Was it Philadelphia? Somebody pitched a one-hitter because the lead up to that point of the game was, look at all these great games going on. There's a bunch of 0-0 games, and this one was extra inning 0-0. But that's where he's hanging out now. So he got in the game, but he got in late because he only had like 2 at bats, maybe 3 at bats, which had only been half a game that was that long. So,
wow.
What do you think of the new PED investigation MLB's got going?
Yeah, it'd be a shame to see Alex Rodriguez not get into the Hall of Fame because he's a cheater. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. But they got, because Braun's mentioned in there again.
Yeah.
Cologne was mentioned.
What are they talking? 100 game suspensions for these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because some of these guys have already been accused of, and if it proves true, they lied about it, so they're going to give them like 50 games for getting caught and 50 games for lying to them about it.
Right.
But it just is.
That's 2 seasons, right?
Now I haven't seen. I don't know how much of the details have leaked out about this because previously we were aware of A-Rod cheating when he was with Texas.
Right.
But this is something since then, right?
Yeah, these aren't necessarily steroids. There's something else. This is what Braun was accused of a couple of years ago, but he got off on the technicality of the handling of the test. Not he didn't win because he didn't prove he didn't do it, though he said he didn't. It was the handling of the test, and now his name's back. So it's this clinic in Florida that these guys have gone to.
Now here's the part that I don't understand. What is in it for the company to cooperate here?
Because there were some lawsuits involved, and there were some criminal charges involved, and apparently they've got it worked out with this guy, Brogenaeus or something like that. MLB is one. They're not going to charge him. He's going to be indemnified in any lawsuits. And there's like three things I'm saying. It's almost, and then
but how?
There's almost.
Major League Baseball can't offer him immunity from prosecution.
If you read the things, they aren't. Whoever's going to go after him has agreed not to go after him if they testify and cooperate. But the one sportscaster said, looking at all the things that they're giving to this company to give them the information, it's almost like he's their in-house witness, and it's like they're paying him to. So how credible is he going to be when it comes up? But there's like 30 players is what they've got. And the other thing too, most of them were Dominican. Now they weren't saying anything specific about them being a bunch of cheaters, but they did mention that most of them are from the Dominican Republic. The catcher the Yankees sent to Seattle is on the list. Is it Martinez or whatever? They sent him out there when they...
I can't keep track of who their catchers are anymore.
So they've got they picked up Panera. The guy hasn't pitched in 2 years because of a shoulder problem. That's who they got from Seattle for this catcher. But you'd like this stuff not to be true and never have happened, and it just goes away because I think people are really getting sick of it. But baseball is the one that's most aggressively going after.
I just can't believe that after all the negative publicity that anybody would even take the chance to get involved in this stuff at this point. And yet here they are.
Yeah.
It was Manny Ramirez a couple of years ago.
Well, this is where he went. His clinic. And he's playing in Japan now.
Speaking of baseball, on your recommendation, we went to see 42 down in the Scotia Theater the other night. Now, first of all, I don't know why we don't go there more often, because that is the greatest place to see a movie. It's a big screen. It's like going to the Mohawk in the old days. Yeah. The price of admission is like $4 or $4.50, and once I turn 65, it'll be like free. The popcorn is cheap. And the seats are terrific. They're very comfortable. The sound is good. I didn't need any interpretation, but I guess they actually have... they've got it rigged for the hearing impaired, so I think you can get a device from the box office. Next time I go, I'm going to try that. Wonderful movie. Even if you think you know the story, it was just so well done, end to end. Couple places 2/3 of the way and a little draggy, but otherwise it captures the whole spirit and was very accurate. I'd forgotten about the Eddie Stanky incident. Frankly, I'd forgotten he was with the Dodgers because I always thought of him as as the manager.
They wanted to sign a petition to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And Bobby Bragan too.
Yeah.
One of the guys.
But really, really well done. Really well, beautifully cast. The guy playing Robinson, there were certain aspects of it that
You thought it was him?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it wasn't him, but it looked like a young Jack. He looked like a young Jackie Robinson, but not his. I don't know if they made him look taller when he was with the wife. He looked like he was twice her size, which you don't ordinarily see in the movies. When when romantic couples are there, they're usually well balanced. But he was like towering over her, and I think that was part of trying to make him look like that. But on the bases, you know, when he's getting ready to steal bases,
Yeah.
it was
Got the finger twitched down like
jeez,
that.
it was like watching the real guy. And the baseball scenes were great.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were.
And it's all true. And you know, they kind of gloss over the fact that they lose that World Series he gets them into.
Yeah.
But
You know, yeah, they got 7 games. That was the.
Could he have proved himself more in his rookie year than he did? I mean, it's hard to imagine what more the guy could have done.
Yeah.
And I guess after his rookie year, they let him loose, and you know, he tore it up for a couple of years, really.
Well, I mean, he only played about 10 years in the majors, but his lifetime statistics are terrific. Did he really have a bad year?
No, he had some pretty good years.
He had some pretty damn good years in there. Yeah.
But it was ironic though when the Dodgers were going to get rid of him. They wanted to send him to New York Giants.
Yeah.
He wouldn't go and play for those guys. The guy that I liked, the guy who played DeRocher. I thought he did a nice.
Oh yeah. Of course, you know he's always played a guy on the edge on TV.
Yeah. But it was. I thought it was good.
Maloney.
Yes.
Christopher Maloney. I would almost say Harrison Ford was a revelation because that was the best acting performance he's ever done, as far as I'm concerned.
Great job as Branch Rickey.
And you know, he's been in some great movies and played some great parts, but as an acting performance, this was really, really good.
And particularly because he played a real person in this, as opposed to a character.
Right.
You know, Branch Rickey was a real guy, and people can remember. You can see on the newsreels sometimes. You know, Branch Rickey's talking, and whatnot. But it was.
My only historical objection, I thought they were very unfair to Happy Chandler, who was the commissioner of baseball. They made it look, in that short scene he's in where DeRocher is fired, they made it look like he was in cahoots with everybody else to lay it on the Dodgers. And nothing could be further from the truth. Happy Chandler is in the Hall of Fame largely on the basis of his support of Rickey in getting Robinson up there, and they also and really the other teams don't get credit for going. You know, they did not give the Dodgers a hard time because they all wanted a piece of the action as well, and there were a lot of other guys who were waiting in the wings to come up.
Oh, there were, and they were counting on the success of Robinson. To have that opportunity.
Was he the only one that came up in that year?
Larry Dopp came up, I think halfway through that year with Cleveland. I think, or it was the following year. But Larry Dopp was the first one in the American League, and but I'm kind of, for some reason it says he came up in the latter half of 47.
I like the whole colloquy. You know, when they're going through the file of who it's going to be. You know, Satchel Paige too old, and of course he comes up like 3 years later and pitches in the World Series.
Yeah.
God, what a guy!
He pitched for Cleveland too, didn't he?
Yeah, he pitched for Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, and they did certainly emphasize in there the problems they had with Philadelphia. How they were the real negative team, even though they weren't the team farther south. St. Louis was.
Right.
But Robinson gave credit to Stan Musial as being very supportive. Actually, Don Newcomb did when they interviewed him and Harrison and the actor played Jackie on the program before they when it was made about making the movie, and he said, you know, that Stan Musial was very supportive, you know, and at that time you had a majority of the players in Major League were Southern boys.
Sure.
You know, and they had that.
Oh, sure.
They just had that.
Well, because they got to play all year round as opposed to those guys in the north.
Yeah, for three weeks a year. Yeah. So it was good. I thought it was a good movie.
So many nice little touches.
It was great about Ed Charles.
Yeah.
As a little kid.
You know, it's funny. I didn't know the hook in that. I
didn't either.
I didn't know the hook, but the first time he's on the screen, I said, wouldn't it be great if this kid ends up being a major league ball player?
Yeah.
It's like I was writing the script.
Yeah.
That was great. That was one of the things I was going to mention. The other one was that the little white kid in Cincinnati, whose father's talking about, tell him how great baseball is and who the baseball heroes are, and then when his father starts shouting nigger, 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 and then the little kid starts.
He sits here very confused.
Yeah, he has a beautiful confused look on his face, and then finally he yells out nigger.
Yeah.
And that's the Pee Wee Reese scene, right? That's where Pee Wee Reese comes over.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
And all of a sudden the kid is less confused. All of a sudden he realizes maybe there's something wrong with what I just did.
Yeah.
But.
And there was one factual mistake they made in there, and they mentioned it on that program, that. The pitcher they had thrown for the Dodgers in real life was a lefty, not a righty. And they should have known that. I don't remember who the pitcher was. I don't know if it was Rex Barney or was it Sal Macon? Whoever it was, they had the guy pitching it.
How about that scene where he gets beamed and you realize that in those days they didn't even have a helmet.
No helmet.
No helmet. And he's just standing there and the guy just throws full force right at his head.
Oh.
Jesus. Could have killed him.
Or when he gets spiked at first base.
Yeah, true story.
That could have really ripped him up.
Yeah.
But it was, I really liked the way they portrayed Red Barber as the announcer, how he was very factual, very precise in everything he said, and yet there was a tone of encouragement of what was going on, that this is a good thing. He didn't come
but it was just on the edge,
yes.
Barely on the edge. You're right. Yeah. You're right. It was a nice subtle performance.
Yeah, it was really good. It was good.
And he was their announcer forever, wasn't he?
No, because he jumped over. He went over to the Yankees afterwards, Red Barber.
He did.
Yeah. He went to the Yankees, and then Scully came up and.
Scully, he's still there. He's still there.
This is last year. They're going to let him call the All-Star game.
He was not exactly Hall of Fame, but the division they have for the announcers. He went in the same time Happy Chandler did. That was like forever ago. It was like. Scully. Scully. He went in. I think it was the same year. What a year that was! I went down to Cooperstown. Frank Robinson, Hank Aaron, Happy Chandler, and Vin Scully.
And Scully's still going.
Yeah, I mean, that had to have been like 1980 or something like that. That's a long time ago. Yeah. Did we run over, or is it just about 12?
Yeah, just about 12.
Just about 12.
Yeah. Okay.
It is 12.
All right. So it's actually because we started a little after 11, I think. But yeah. So anyway, good movie. 42. Go see it. Iceman is a good movie. You got to go in there knowing it's going to be grim, but it's beautifully done. Beautifully done. A good character piece. The restrained fury. It's just unbelievable. And every once in a while, he goes over on the other side, and the fury escapes. But otherwise, it's just, you can see it in his temples. What's the guy's name? Shannon or something? Michael Shannon, maybe?
Yeah, you don't know
playing the part. Excellent. Really excellent.
What deep, dark secrets everybody's got.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll share those next time, on maybe on the radio show on Tuesday. So we'll be back on Tuesday with the regular radio broadcast at 10:04 on WCSS1490.com, and we'll be, I guess, back again next week, right? We're all going to be here.
I'll probably be on time. I apologize.
Well, it's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
You can phone you with me.
We'll give you a tardy, not a absence. Okay. And so I'm Bob Going with Jim Nikosha and Gavin Murdoch, and we'll be back next week with more of the show with no name.